Hi, my name's Lachlan Wilmot and I'm the Strength and Power Coach here at the GWS Giants. What we've been starting to look at with the last few episodes is how we can start to introduce the concept of plyometric training and all the things that we've looked at over the past few seasons in a systematic, progressive approach to return to play. For that matter, return to performance, to make sure that our athletes are ready to go on the field or on the track with a nice, steady ability to absorb and produce power. Last episode, what we looked at is how we can start to introduce load into the Achilles or foot complex, and Maddie did a really good job of demonstrating our pogo and skipping options for that introduction of load. Now, we want to start looking at how we can start to absorb our pressure and start to utilize that for our return to play. So we're going to start to work back up the chain, utilizing the knee and the hip complex in a little bit of movement around absorption before we start to produce. So if you can dial back your memories to our episode 2 or episode 1 in season 1, we started to look at that absorption factor over production, making sure that our athletes can absorb forces before they produce forces. And it's so important with return to play or return to performance that we reintroduce our athletes to that and make sure that hip, knee and ankle angles are really strong and their absorption is really good before we progress them too quickly. So today what we're going to look at with Maddie is how we can start to do some tall to short landings, a couple of really good cues for that, how we progress it to a single leg landing and how we can start to really challenge that position. So with our tall to short landings, what we want to try and do is get our athletes as tall as possible, reaching for the skies, up on the tippy toes, really elongating everything that they can, and then on your call, they drop into a position, absorb the landing, and we look at that active foot, active knee, and that active hip position. So Maddie, I'll get you to reach to the sky, keep tall, push up on the toes as high as you can, and drop. Good, stick. Well done. Knees are out, nice strong position, nice strong foot position as well. Heels are grounded, and that bum sticking out, holding that posture really nicely. Good. So you can see here with Maddie, she's pushing her knees out instead of pushing them forward, which is what we see a lot of people do. She's pulled those toes up like we talked about with our pogos, but most importantly, she's using her bum. She's using her hips by pushing those knees out. Too often we see people start to explode and drive down and their knees come forward and that takes the brunt of it. And we can start to see that the Achilles or ankle complex there gets really jammed up and can start to transfer up the chain. So really important cues for your athletes, toes up, knees out when they land. You'll notice Maddie made a bit of a sound when she hit the ground. That's really good. Can be a good cue for your athletes to encourage them to be aggressive and attack the ground with that toe up position, make a little bit of noise on the ground. So within our tall to short landings, we have 3 progressions. We have our double leg, which Maddie's shown, and now we're going to move on to our double to single leg before we move into a pure single leg option. Cues still remain the same, just a little bit more challenging for your athletes to be able to drop from that double leg position into a single leg position. So Maddie, you want to give us a bit of a demonstration here? So same cues, we're going to be reaching tall, get nice and tall up on the tippy toes, and drop, and stick, good, and relax. So you notice with Maddie that she does have a little bit of self-correcting. So she lands, and her knee can move in and out there to try and absorb that landing. It'll progress as she gets better at it, and it's really important to keep teaching your athletes. We're still looking for that knee out position, and they're trying to absorb. The better they get, the quicker they can get in position. So again, we're going to keep trying to get Maddie to get into that position quicker and quicker and quicker. So let's go again, Maddie. Reaching tall. Tall, 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 tall. 2, 1, go. And hold. Well done, good. Good try. So you can see it gets a little bit challenging, but it's a really good one to absorb that single leg landing position. So now our third progression in our tall to short landing sequence is our single leg to single leg, which is where Maddie's going to start on one leg, get as tall as she can like she did with her double leg options, and then drop, absorb and stick that same leg. So Maddie, give us a bit of a demonstration here. Reaching up on one leg, up on the toes, get that balance and drop, stick, good. And reset, well done. So notice again, Maddie's knees trying to track, it's trying to find that strong position and she'll correct. So give your athletes time to learn it, give them a chance to absorb it and get good in that position. All right, Maddie, let's go again. Reaching tall and drop. Well done, good absorption, did well, did really well. So over this past episode, we've looked at those 3 progressions of tall to short landing that's allowed Maddie to start to progress her ability to absorb force before we start to move into force production. Such an important part of return to play or return to performance is the ability to teach your athletes how to start to absorb force again. It's amazing how quickly their movement patterns and their ability to absorb can start to diminish with any type of injury. So this progression, for some people might move quickly, for other people might move slowly, but bottom line is, it's a steady, systematic progression for each angle to absorb, learn it, stick it, and make sure your athlete's in a really good position to progress to any more plyometric training.